Hello, beloveds. It's Sarah Poet, and I want to talk to you in this video about women receiving, the fear of receiving, and how that actually loops us into a consumption cycle that leads to depletion. What? Might not sound very uplifting, but this is very important information, okay? So how do I know about these things? Because I've lived it and I've studied the fuck out of these energetics, okay? And I want to help women move from depletion into regenerative energetics, like with all of my heart, because it's so important. And so there are some foundational energetic pieces that I'm going to attempt to communicate to you here, but also please know that this is the foundation for my Heartland teachings. And the Heartland is opening March of 2022 for the second time, and even more potent than ever as I dive into these energetic teachings myself and watch them at play in my life. And I'm really excited to bring them forward. So visit sarahpoet.com/heartland to learn more about it. It's a full 8-week transmission, energetic transmission to move from depletion energetics into regenerative energetics, which is also where lasting prosperity is. So let's look at some typical patterns with women and energy around receptivity and money, whatever it is you want to receive, like man, money, we'll just use those minor two to start the conversation here. So when there is a fear of not receiving or not being safe in the receiving, which women have experienced for a few thousand years now. So I would venture to say that we've all got that, okay? Unless we've done a lot of work, we've probably got some remnants of this. I've done a lot of work, and I still have remnants of this, okay? So we're not trying to outpace each other here. We're just trying to heal and move from depletion into regeneration. So when we have this fear template of I will be depleted, my resources will be depleted, or might be depleted, then we begin to act out of that fear. You know what I'm talking about? So that fear template gives you two options. It only ever gives you two options. If you're running a fear template, I'm like sweating, I just got out of the shower. If you're running a fear template, you only ever have two options. So if fear is at play, then it's, am I going to be safe? Am I not going to be safe? Am I going to make the money? Am I not going to be making the money? Am I going to receive? Am I not going to receive? Am I going to stay alive? Am I not going to stay alive? Like that's how deep a lot of this fear goes, okay? About being a woman. And am I going to have my needs met? Am I going to have my resource needs met? This goes way back ancestrally. So when we're running that either or, we're actually always simultaneously trying to outrun something and being chased. And it's like a loop, like we're trying to outrun the fear, but the fear is chasing us. And so that's where we see a ton of women, myself included in the past, trying to get away from like hustle culture or patriarchal culture, but ending up repeating it because we're like, well, we're going to go out on our own and we're going to make a lot of money and we're going to, be able to buy anything we want to buy. But that's like repeating more of the same, because the energy behind that push is inherently consumptive because it's driven by fear. Now, I know that some of these words might be like, what? Or they're new to you, but just like let them sink in, rewatch it if you need to. So when we're driven by fear, we actually consume more resources, hence depleting ourselves as women. So let's just look at like a couple basic patterns, or just one basic pattern to save time. So many women are like in a pattern where they like hustle for a lot of money, and then they spend the money right away. I used to have a thing where like I'd fill the cupboard right away. I mean, how ancestral is that, right? Like fear of running out of resources. And so I would like buy all the food that I could imagine ever needing. I even did it like for the animals, like make sure everybody has the basic needs. And then then I could breathe. Okay. And so like that pattern of spending or consuming first, and then like experiencing depletion after that. So maybe your consumption pattern is like, woohoo, I got paid, I'm gonna go shop for myself. And it feels empowering. And we have a lot of rhetoric going on in the world about, women getting to buy anything they want to buy and consume anything they want to consume. And I have thoughts about that kind of separately because I don't think that that's responsible. I mean, we have a feminine depletion issue on the planet that, again, is a bigger issue. But if we're depleting environmental resources the same as we're depleting the feminine resources in a woman's body, then I don't necessarily feel entitled to like designer purses or things like that. I mean, I think that as women, we actually have a responsibility to question and contemplate our consumptive nature. And that is a part of Heartland. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, Heartland's probably not for you. But it is really beautiful to actually look at your consumptive patterns because that tells you where the fear is. Okay? It tells you where the fear is. And if you know where the fear is, then you know what you're outrunning. And then you can work with that. Okay? So the other side of this coin, or the healed part of this, is if we're not fearing depletion and running out and then consuming more and running out and like running some kind of pattern like that. Okay. And it doesn't really matter how much money you have, because I just heard from a friend the other day who was like, yeah, I made a ton of money last year and I really feared not making the same amount of money this year. So these patterns are actually in us as women because of the installed fear patterns, okay, around like, will the feminine be depleted? Will the feminine be consumed? I mean, that's what we're working with here, if we're honest about it, okay? And fuck yeah, we're going to be honest about it. So I don't want women running themselves into the ground more so in the name of I can have anything I want, when really she's just outrunning her fear of being consumed in a patriarchy. Okay? I'm talking about some higher level shit here. Okay? So we're not all going to be ready for that. And that's okay. So the flip side of it then, or the healed side of it, is when we're not fearing being depleted, being raped, being taken from, being eaten alive, being like sucked on perpetually forever. Like those kinds of like depletion feelings, when we're not having those, we can experience replenishment, which we haven't really had a template for. We don't have a template for that in our society. We kind of knock around self-care like that's a thing. Like taking a bath is supposed to be replenishment for the feminine system. Not exactly. So replenishment is when, okay, ready for this? Thanks for hanging in here. We're at 9 minutes. I'm almost done. Replenishment is when you go from either or thinking into regenerative energetics, which has to do with a certain geometry pattern, which has to do with new energetics. I would say 5D prosperity energetics. And this is what I teach you in the Heartland. And through a series of sequences and teachings, I'm actually going to put you into experiences where you can experience the flow of this regenerative frequency. And we bring in some helper frequencies like the diamond light frequency. But we notice when our mind goes to the habitual dualism, the perpetual either or. And then we retrain, okay, kind of like doing quantum healing work or quantum visualization, that kind of thing. But we're going to do it in conjunction with some really supportive energetics. And so we're going to retrain the entire system, the entire like energetic architecture of your feminine system to be regenerative rather than depleted. How does that sound, my love? Have we been waiting for this forever? I have been. And I'm so glad that I was shown these codes, you know, in 2020. And then I've been learning them ever since, and I've ignored them, and I've suffered for ignoring them. And then I've come back to them, and I'm in awe of them. And so I cannot wait to help you move from what I would call bi-wave, the dualism, into tri-wave, where we have the infinite potential of possibility and regenerative life force. And so welcome. You're welcome to join me in the Heartland. We start in 2022 on March 24th, and you can learn more at sarahpoet.com/Heartland and reach out to me if you have any questions. But you should be able, from this video and from the webpage and from all of the other things I'm doing on social media, to feel if this is for you or not. And that is where this wisdom, this codex lies, in the Sophianic knowing, in the feminine knowing. And so I encourage you to feel into that, to trust your knowing. It won't be for everyone, so it's okay if it's not for you. But if you are so fucking sick of patriarchal taker energetics and trying to outrun taker energetics, then let's do this. Let's go to the Heartland together. I would love to meet you there. So much so. Okay. So much love. Bye.